Guess what? I am here 2 days before Mushoku Tensei Season 2 comes out. I'm a light novel reader, I'm a web novel reader, I am very much invested in the series, and I am looking forward to Season 2. And I thought I wanted to record my thoughts, I guess, before the season comes out, because I certainly do have a lot of thoughts. I'm a little bit worried, I'm incredibly excited, and I thought now was a good time to do this. So, I guess first, I have seen these trailers, but I want to watch them again, and kind of see what I'm thinking about everything before the season comes out. So I guess I should also say this is going to be spoilers for the complete Mushoku Tensei story. So light novel spoilers, web novel spoilers, everything spoilers, alright? So yeah, this trailer came out 11 months ago apparently, which is crazy to think about. July of 2022. Interesting, they released it almost exactly a year, because 3rd of July versus, I think it's coming out 2nd of July. Maybe it's like a time zone thing, I don't know. But this was an amazing trailer, is what I remember. Everyone was looking very positively towards Season 2 when they saw this, because the production quality and everything is so great. But apparently it was like a pre-animated trailer, which means it's like the scenes that were animated were made specifically for this trailer and probably won't be in the actual show itself. Let's just point out some specific things. I guess the first thing to say is that the tone of this trailer particularly matches very well with Volume 7. So a big thing I'm worried about is that they're going to introduce a lot of comedy or play a lot of serious scenes for jokes, which is like a thing that happened in Season 1 quite a lot. And this trailer kind of put that to rest, but I guess we'll see. So what is there? The directing, let me mute it and just play it here. The directing in this beginning bit is awesome, like this, all the snow and environment and the shots like this where you see his foot moving, it's all great. The dynamic motion, like this shot, wait, the shot coming up of Sarah, stuff like this, if this was included in the show, it would be so great. What else? This whole like sequence fighting in the pit, which I didn't know was open. In my mind, it was like a closed cabin or whatever where there was no way out. Let's see. Lydia and Persona. Another thing to note is that the art in this trailer looks like pristine. Like these two look perfectly on model and exactly how I envisioned them. But I know in I think trailer 3 they kind of looked a bit off. But I don't know, look at this shot. What a great shot. Lydia and Persona. The Zainoba humping the statue when Rudius accidentally walks in and then walks back out. Great, can't wait for that. Nanohashi doing her experiments. These people, Alinalize at the school, awesome. Sarah and the trench, I think, I don't remember what it was called, when Rudy saves her. Stuff in the labyrinth, great. This scene, where is it? Where's the Batagati scene? Batagati. I'm assuming this is the scene where he shows up and Rudy like hits him with the full power stone cannon. I am so excited for this. This was one of the most engaging parts of the light novel. I was on the edge of my seat what was going to happen. I'm so excited to see it animated. I hope they I really just hope the production is as good as it was for Season 1, because there's so much good stuff coming this season. This trailer also goes over a lot of the Paul stuff, the labyrinth stuff that comes up at the end of Volume 12, which is exciting. I hope the anime actually covers that stuff, but no one really knows, I guess. This trailer, if it is pre-animated, which I'm pretty sure it is, then you can have pre-animated trailers that show content that won't be in the story at all, and the prime example for that is the Attack on Titan Season 4 trailer, the first one that everyone loves. That went all the way up to the what the manga was up to at the time, I think, even. And that certainly didn't get adapted, at least in part 1 of Season 4. But what else is here? Sylphie looking great. Like, look at this art. If the show is this quality in Season 2, I'm perfectly satisfied. Walking Alone, Renoa. It's so cool seeing Renoa. There's so many things where I just I have no visual for them in my mind. Like, I guess I have a visual, but it's like something I completely made up. It might not even be based in how it's described at all, because sometimes the descriptions just go over my head. So it's cool to see stuff like this where I'm like, man, that's that academy that I've heard so much about, that we spend I guess Rudy spends the next at least 20 years of his life here, I guess. Potentially up to the next 60 years, or not 60 years, I guess, but 60 years maybe of his life here, potentially, if he dies here, I don't know. But I'm excited to see stuff like this. And then Luke and Ariel and Sylphie, which apparently I heard that the first episode is episode 0, and it'll cover a lot of the Sylphie stuff that was cut out of Season 1. That's exciting. I'm very much looking forward to that. I really wonder, because I remember, firstly, I guess I should preface a lot of what I'm saying here by, I read the light novel like over a year ago, which to some people might not sound like a long time, but to me it is, which means I'm probably forgetting some of the details. But as far as I remember, Sylphie falls from the sky and like breaks a bone or something even, and maybe she heals it using her magic, I don't remember, but I wonder if they'll use that as an opportunity to talk about or to show other people being teleported as well, because in the rewatch, something I picked up was that I think Roxy's dad, I think, said that the other night we saw all these stars moving in the sky and like shooting stars or whatever, and I'm assuming that's, or it's implying that that's all the teleported people. So I wonder if we see in the backdrop of her like falling from the sky, if we'll see a bunch of other people like teleporting as shooting stars, quote unquote. That would be really cool to see, but I doubt they'll do it, but I really hope they do. But man, that art, it just looks so good. I also saw in some of the screenshots for the first, or episode 0 or whatever, there is the noise added to the, or the film grain or whatever you want to call it, added to the anime, which is great. That's something I love that makes Mushoku Tensei stand out and look really cool. But yeah, I don't have anything particular for that one. Now, trailer 2, this was much shorter, and I think this was easily the worst trailer. It really doesn't show anything. It doesn't have much animation at all, which was a bit worrisome, but I think the third one makes up for it. But let's see. Like, that shot looks cool. Like of Rudy turning his head. This is my biggest worry, alright? This right here, Rudy, incredibly depressed. If I'm remembering correctly, this is after it'll be somewhere in volume 7, basically. I don't remember if it's exactly after he like messes up the conversation with Sarah or something like that, but clearly this is a humorous situation, right? He's using underwear and he's like drying out his tears with it. But when I'm reading it, this is like I'm like crying, right? Because this is like the most emotionally depressing thing I've read in my life, and I am so terribly sad for what's happening here and like what could have been with him and Sarah, and there is no humor in my mind when I'm reading these scenes. So I just hope they don't play these moments, which are incredibly serious in my mind, which maybe they aren't meant to be taken seriously. I hope they don't play like goofy music or like, yeah, I don't know, like I just hope they take it seriously, you know? My biggest worry is that these serious moments, especially in Volume 7, I'm sure Volume 12 they'll be fine because it's less. There are no like somewhat goofy moments like this, but Volume 7, please just take it seriously. But I guess we'll see. But what else? Like, some of these shots look great. It's just the fact that there's no animation going on. Like, look at this. Look at the framing of this shot. How cool it is. Like the angle, all the characters in frame, stuff like this. Look at it. Love it. It's just the fact that there's not much movement going on. That's another worrying thing. The sold out shot here of him coming down to save Counter Arrow. Counter Arrow? I think that's what it was called. There's less animation here compared to the first one, but I think it's fine. That was an interesting thing I never noticed. Roxy, I guess it's just another, I don't know if it's directly from season 1 or if they reanimated it, but it's them leaving the village. Or not leaving the village, I guess, but leaving their house. There's something about like his eyes here, which look depressed, which is exactly what I want to see, alright? But whatever, stuff like that. And then I guess we got Sylphie? No. Fine, exciting. Love it. Trailer 3. This is the best of the 3 trailers, alright? This captures the tone of what I want to see for the entirety of the season, I guess. Like, the season's going to be split into 3 major, or maybe 4 major parts, you could kind of say. Volume 7, and then, like, the school stuff before the siblings arrive, the school stuff after the siblings arrive, and then potentially getting the labyrinth stuff if that happens. And I think this trailer covers the tone of all of that pretty well, but, like, listen to this. Listen to the first, like, 2 seconds. This music is so good. Like, this is Volume 7. This is what I have in my mind when I'm reading Volume 7, alright? Look at this shot. Look at the text. This is perfect. This is exactly, like, this is... Whoever directed this trailer, well done. It's beautiful. Another beautiful shot, my god. Look at this. I love how it syncs up with the music and him killing these beasts. It's so cool. And just the fact that he's not even reacting because of his depression, you know? It's so good.
けようってんだろ。私たちと一緒に受けないかい？足引っ張って誰か死ぬようなことになったら許さないんだから。
I do wonder how many episodes we'll spend on Volume 7. If we're going to cover 6 volumes in 25 episodes, then what would that be? 6 volumes equals 25 episodes. Then 1 volume would be 4 episodes. So I reckon we could spend maybe 3 episodes on Volume 7. Burning the hair. That is interesting. This shot here, I guess it's like, this is something that never crossed my mind. This is something unique that only anime can do, I guess, a visual medium, where it's like, in the novel, you probably get some description of like, oh, I won't bring, basically like the dialogue here, won't bring my loved ones back, but in the anime, you can actually see them in this like grey background with the Eris's red hair. I don't know, it's really cool. Stuff like this is why the anime is worth it. Jesus. Look at this shot. My god. Look at the framing. My god. Look at this red worm. My god. What a trailer. So I like another thing where I hope this isn't portrayed as goofy is him like lying down crying and someone walks in. I guess I could see this one particular moment being like a laughing moment or whatever. I'm just scared they're gonna goofify or like make light of the scenes that just are the most emotional scenes of anything I've ever watched or read, I guess. I'm just scared it's not going to be good in that regard. But yeah, the trailer here, where you got the first part, like the dum dum dum, like the ominous kind of depressive kind of music, I like that. Then it transitions to the, I think it's the opening song they're playing, which is more upbeat and like a lot of stuff is going on, which I think really matches what happens in the season. And then we transition again to something later, but. Oh, Lionel, my god, she's gonna become a character. It's so great. Depressed Rudius, love it. Slow motion. Yeah, then we get the cutoff of the music and the new song. This is great. Like, this is the animation I was hoping to see. Like, I am excited. Oh man, this scene. My god. The thing is, I don't even remember the details, but I remember just crying so much reading this part where they're confronting each other. And I feel like Rudius was even like accidentally offending her or something, and it basically was just a big misunderstanding. And if they only talked to each other, then they could have been happy together. And it's just a miscommunication, which Rudius learns, I guess, over time to, like, he'll reflect on this conversation and they'll talk about it when they meet up again in like a few volumes. But man, the scene crushed me, and I'm so looking forward to seeing it like fully, like voice actors and music and directing, and I'm so excited. So great. I'm so excited for all these characters. What is there? There's Zainoba. Zainoba, my god. Oh, Rudius looking a little bit older. It's cool. Cliff. Kind of looking weird, a little bit off model, but it's fine. Linnea and Persona looking slightly off model as well, but I'm very excited. Julie, my god. Her and Zainoba, what a relationship. Her calling, or like Zainoba calling Rudius master, and then her calling Rudius grandmaster, because it's like her master's master. So cute. And then her carrot scene as well. I really hope they include the carrot scene, my god. One of the highlights of Mushoku Tensei. Oh no, what was this? Batagati. This might be his introduction scene? I don't remember. Oh my god, this character. I don't remember her at all, but I do remember her. Like, I don't know what she does, basically, but I remember her, and I remember loving her. Like, I think maybe she, like, intimidated Rudius or something, but then Rudius, like, accidentally, like, beat her in a fight or something. But when I saw her the first time, I was like, oh my god, this is, like, my imagination realized. I was like, I didn't remember that this character existed, but now that I'm seeing them in a trailer, I'm like, oh my god, it's that character in my mind. But That's the magic of adaptations, I guess. I should also say that every shot of Fitz, Silent Fitz, or Sylphie here, looks great. Like, she's always on model, always looks great. The shading is always great. I guess all three of these. Luke looks a bit strange with the lighting, but man, I love these characters. Lionelize and Rudy traveling together. I think these two traveling together might be some of my favorite parts of the light novel. It's just so they're an interesting dynamic, I guess. I love this this music here. Like, it's very hopeful. Like, Rudy kind of regaining his confidence and thinking that he can move on with life, you know. I think it's perfect for that. But anyway, those were the trailers. Now, I have a bunch of notes that I want to go over. Hopes and fears for Mushoku Tensei Season 2. So I guess I've already gone over some of them for when I was going through the trailer, but my number one thing is that I just want the production. I just hope it's like 90% as good as Season 1, at least. Because the production of Season 1 is really what makes it worthwhile, I guess, over the... like, making it a worthwhile adaptation of the light novel. To me, the light novel is the better version of the story. It's completely different. I mean, it is completely different in that a lot of the story is told from inside of Rudius's mind and the inside of other people's minds when you get point of view chapters. And the anime doesn't, like, it's hard to translate that into an anime. So I guess the appeal of the anime instead is just making the world seem more alive by having the environments be dynamic and having a good production value. Really, that's the appeal of it. Like, the cool animation, the cool directing, the cool music, like, that all comes together to produce something that, even if it isn't capturing that, like, point of view inside Rudius's head, like, aspect of the series that really appeals to me, the production makes it something at least worthwhile in its own right. So I just hope that's still there. Yeah, let's see. Now I guess I go over the volumes here, which I've kind of already gone over a little bit, but Volume 7 I think is crucial to... Like, if they mess up Volume 7, then it's quite a bit of an issue, because it is the transitionary period, I guess, in Rudius's depression, where he will open this season incredibly depressed and sink even deeper, but he will continue, you know, taking a step forward, I guess, every time. And I think, to me, Volume 7 has to, like, bask in that depression and really show the lowest point that Rudy will ever be in his life. Unless you count Oldius or whatever, the future of Rudius, but this Rudius particularly, the lowest he will ever be in his life. And I think you have to emphasize that so that when you have the happier moments later on, that you can appreciate it for what it is, you know? But yeah, that's why I think it's incredibly important. And Volume 7, to me, is incredibly introspective, where you do get a lot of, in the light novel, obviously, you get a lot of introspection as to what Rudius is thinking, and how when he messes things up, he feels bad about messing things up, and like, this is stuff that's very hard to convey earnestly in an anime, where you could have Rudy just sitting there, and if you have a voiceover of his, like, adult voice, for instance, saying all this dialogue, it's not the same impact as reading it yourself. So I don't know, I'm just interested to see how they'll do it, and I'm nervous, you know. Volume 7, of all these volumes, Volume 7 is the one I'm the most nervous for, where I'm like, it's very easy for them to adapt it in a way that doesn't match what I like about the story. I'm sure they'll nail it for what their vision is of the story, maybe what the vision of most people is for Volume 7, but for me it's a very depressive, introspective kind of volume, and that's what I like about it. I don't want any, like, artificial levity, you know, added to it for the sake of levity. I just want to bask in that depression, you know. Anyway, what's my note here? It's incredibly depressing and doesn't have a happy ending. It's perhaps the most down-to-earth volume in Mushoku Tensei. Yeah, I guess that is really what it is. Volume 7 is incredibly down-to-earth. It's literally just Rudy working as I don't even know what it is, a mercenary, maybe? Not a mercenary, he helps out this small village, basically, and goes on a few missions with Counter Arrow, and has sex basically. Like, that's really all that Volume 7 is. Gets drunk, I guess. It's a very down-to-earth kind of volume, and that's why it's one of the best, if not... It's not the best, but one of the best volumes in Mushoku Tensei, and I hope they do that well. I guess an example of what I'm afraid of is that when Rudy and Sarah go to have sex, and Rudy can't get an erection, it's very easy. When I'm reading this, I don't know what the correct word is. I'm incredibly like, the wind is taken out of my sails. I'm like, oh my god, poor Rudy. Like, this is terrible. Poor Sarah as well in this situation. Like, this is like, his trauma basically is coming back. Like, when they all called him limp dick or whatever, and like, this is the moment where Rudy is reliving the trauma of his past life, and it's like one of his lowest moments here. But at the same time, I could see how someone could read that scene, and when they go to adapt it in an anime, play it as a joke, kind of, and play like funny music, because like Rudy can't get an erection, you know. And I just hope they go the more serious route than going the like humorous route, you know. That's just the kind of stuff I'm afraid of, but I guess time will tell. Yeah, I in my notes I'm like hopeless here. Like, I'm fairly sure they can't. You just can't adapt Volume 7. I hope I'm proven wrong, but to me, in my mind, Volume 7 is so depressing and so personal when you're reading it, and you're so inside Rudy's head that it feels like there's no way they can capture this in an anime. But I would happily be proven wrong, and maybe at the end of the season I'll rewatch this video and talk and I guess reflect on how all my predictions were wrong and they nailed it, and Volume 7 was great in the adaptation, and I guess we'll see. But like, I've never cried as much reading something as reading the end of Volume 7, and I just hope that the anime can do that as well. Like, with the use of music and voice acting and stuff, hopefully it could even make me cry even more, you know, and get to me even more emotionally, like some moments in Season 1 do compared to the light novel. So I guess we'll see. I guess this is just me being negative, you know, non-stop, but the end of Volume 7, I don't remember if it's probably not right at the end or whatever, but one of the best scenes in Volume 7 and one of the best scenes in the entirety of Mushoku Tensei, it's on my short list of like my 20 favorite scenes of all time, is when Rudy and Soldat, they drink. They go to a bar and they drink because Soldat notices that Rudy is depressed, basically. And they fight and they argue and they're drunk, and by the end of the meeting, none of them can stand and talk, basically, because they're just so drunk. And before this moment, Soldat was framed as like this bad person who like Rudy didn't like and we didn't like, but they just bond over this like, they don't share like happy like conversations. They don't come out as friends or anything, but they just share these drinks together and they fight each other while drunk, and it's the most like down to earth, real kind of emotional scene in the entirety of Volume 7. And like, it's at the same time, I'm both laughing and I'm crying. Like, it's both humorous and it's not. And I just wonder, like, it's a depressing type of humor, I guess, where this is a terrible situation. Rudy is like he's so depressed that he's like becoming an incredible alcoholic and being so drunk and fighting with Soldat and everything. But at the same time, Soldat is there being his friend, even though they're not really friends. And he doesn't realize that these two are becoming like lifelong friends, that, you know, they'll respect each other forever. It's a depressing kind of humor, and it just feels impossible to adapt. So I'm really interested to see how they adapt this scene in particular. I feel like there's a lot of potential to do it very well, but it feels very difficult to do. So I guess we'll see. And I'm also I mentioned it when I was looking at the trailers, but the Sarah Rudius conversation is something I'm very interested in, because as far as I remember, there was a Rudius perspective of that chapter, which portrayed something in one light, which is like, poor Rudius, if only he could explain himself better, things could go well for him. And then you get Sarah's point of view, and she you do see that she did understand that he was going through things, and she did understand his perspective, and he was probably stumbling on his words and everything. But the fact that they never talk to each other is only revealed to be an important, like, what could have been situation. Like, if only they talk to each other. That's only revealed because you get both of their perspectives in that scene. So I just wonder how they will show different perspectives of the same scene to kind of pull out those like emotions that are only possible when you get two different perspectives, you know. But yeah, that's volume 7. I'm worried. Volume 7 is the one I'm worried for. And it is the beginning of the season, so it'll give everyone the impression as to how the rest of the season's going to go. So I'm worried, but I'm also, there is the potential for it to be one of my favorite things ever if they do it well. So we'll see. But then we get, which I've summarized in my notes here, is volumes 8, 9, and 10, which is the pre-siblings arc. So basically before Norn and Aisha arrive. To me, it's like you get one kind of vibe at the school, basically, the Renoa Academy, with like Sylphie and Ariel and Luke and the wedding, and you get Zainoba and Cliff and Linny and Persona, and they all like come together. And then the siblings arrive and they become a lot more of the focus, and you get a very different family dynamic there. So I guess that's how I've split it. So in the pre-sibling stuff, so volumes 8, 9, and 10, what notes do I have here? Yeah, basically, I am like fully. Whereas for volume 7, I have no confidence. I'm very afraid and nervous as to how they'll adapt it. But they do have a room to kind of get a masterpiece there. 8, 9, and 10, I'm perfectly confident that they will nail it. The early lighthearted stuff in season 1, where they're at Buena Village, and the stuff when he goes to the Citadel of Roa with Eris and Ghislaine, that kind of tone was perfectly captured in season 1 of the anime, and it's a very similar kind of tone here in volumes 8, 9, and 10, so I'm fairly confident that they'll nail that here. However, one thing I am very interested to see is how they're going to adapt the Rudius kidnapping and assaulting the Linnea and Persona scene. So I don't remember the exact details of this, but I certainly do remember that when I was reading this, I was like, this is the worst thing Rudius has ever done. Like, I cannot find a single way to justify this. Because as far as I remember, he groped them or something and like tied them up, and like I think his intention was to like stop them from doing something bad, like stop bullying people or something. I don't know. It was very hard, impossible even to justify his actions there. Like, to me, it's far worse than anything he did in season 1, and people freaked out about him in season 1. So I just wonder if there will be an equal like level of blowback here, or even more blowback, or if people just will not care. Maybe it'll be played for jokes or something, and it'll just be brushed over, which I think is what the tone is meant to be when you're reading it. It's meant to be brushed over, but it's like a contradiction between like the serious stuff that he's doing, the bad things he's doing, but the like joke, like, because you get it from his perspective, I guess, and he's like laughing about, not laughing, but he's like, this can cure my impotence or something like that. I don't know. I'm interested, because I remember when I read this, my thought was like, I wonder what this is going to be like when the anime adapts it, and I can't believe it. A year later, we're here. We're going to see what people think about it. Yeah, I really hope they adapt the Julie carrot scene. It's also alongside that soldat scene. It's in my list of like favorite scenes in Mushoku Tensei. It's just so cute, like her refusing to eat the carrots, but then when challenged, she's like, "I'll eat them," and she eats them all in one bite. It's like so great, and so cute. Then there's also the Eris side chapters in volumes 8, 9, and 10, and so on until she comes back. I have no idea how they're going to do this. I imagine the best way to do this is probably an OVA. But another potential approach is to maybe even save the chapters and don't show any perspective until after she comes into the fight with Orsted in volume 15 or 16 or whatever. That could be interesting, to like save the surprise of who she is and how like far she's come until that moment. I don't know if they'll do that. They probably shouldn't. You know, you should probably adapt things when the light novel adapts them, because the light novel put them there for a reason. But that could also be interesting. I imagine they'll probably do an OVA at the end of this season. If they're doing like a Sylphie kind of episode 0, which is what it seems like, then maybe there'll be an OVA, or maybe they'll start season 3 with a Eris like flashback kind of thing. But boy, if they do include it, I am so incredibly excited to see Isolta. Alright, Isolta is like one of my favorite characters. She's so... I don't know if I said this in the tier list, but she is like the embodiment of the water god style. But she's still young, so she still has like a personality kind of. And another note I have here is, I wonder if we don't include the Eris scenes and purely we save it for like an OVA later on, or we flash back to it later on, I wonder if we will get a glimpse into the crowd in that Batagati scene where like Rudius uses his stone cannon on him. I wonder if we'll get a glimpse and see Nina there, because I know that we get like a point of view chapter of her like going there and seeing this terrifying Rudius who destroys Batagati, the emperor demon, whatever. It'd be cool to get her there, a nice little cameo. Another thing is that I hope Rudius does age. Like, I hope we see him age up. Like, one of the things of the light novel illustrations, one of the issues I have with them is that it doesn't seem like he ages that drastically. Like, by the end of the story, by redundancy, for instance, he is I think he's in his 30s. He doesn't look that old, you know. And I just hope that they can maybe age him up a bit more than it seems in those illustrations. What I want ideally is that we get to the end of the season and we see Rudius slowly age up as the episodes go on. And then if you go back to episode 1 of the season, or episode 2 or whatever, whenever he shows up, that you're like, it's like a jarring change. It's like, oh my god, he's so young here, whereas at the end of the season he's so old. Kind of like Eren Yeager is my example I've got in my notes, which is that like season 4 time skip, it's like you get a completely new Eren and he's so old, and you go back to like season 3 and it's like, whoa, this is like he's so young here, it's crazy. That's what I want to see for Rudy, something like that. But my final note for volumes 8, 9, and 10 is that firstly, I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to Luke, because I have a particular reading of Luke Greyrat that makes him an S tier character in my mind, but I'm not sure if it's because I misread some certain scenes with him. So I'm just going to pay a lot of attention to him, because to me, the moment that propels him to like an S tier character is at Sylphie and Rudy's wedding, where he like basically challenges Rudy and he's like, can you like humor me and like make a sword for me and we'll fight each other. And you kind of get in my mind, I got a reveal. It was revealed in that moment that Luke isn't strong. Like, up until that point, I was expecting him to be incredibly strong, and like, he's the god of Ariel, the heir to Azura, you know, the princess. Like, he must be one of the most elite people in the world. But what you really find out there is that he's just an average guy. Like, he's not that strong at all, and he just cares about Ariel and cares about Sylphie, and he's like fighting Rudius now to prove that Rudius can look after Sylphie. It's a very humanizing moment for him, which makes him a very interesting character. So I just want to see what kind of details like that track throughout the season to see if Luke really is that interesting, or if I've just hyped him up in my mind. But yeah, so then there's volume 11. So this is the volume I'm looking forward to, all right? If there's one thing, I guess there's two things. I'm looking forward to the Paul stuff at the end of the season, but I'm also very much looking forward to volume 11, because this, if you don't know, Norn Greyrat is my favorite character in Mushoku Tensei, and one day I'll make a video about it, but she's the best because, I won't give away why she's the best, all right? One day I want to make a video about it, but she's defined, she's made in volume 7. Before this, she doesn't exist. We only get her in like a few scenes in Millis when she's like, what, 5 years old or something. She comes back in volume 11. She's got a dynamic with Aisha. She has a history with the Latria household. She feels inferior, and she feels like she isn't valued, and she isn't worth anything, and she's always in the shadow of two greatest siblings. And throughout volume 11, we kind of see who Norn is, how hardworking she is, and all these like small details that make the character that is Norn Greyrat and who she will become in the remaining 15 volumes in this entire story. So I am excited to see how they do this. Like the scene with her and Rudy like crying in the room together. It's so great. I'm just looking so forward to it. But oh man, another thing that I'm worried about is that there's a scene in there's a chapter in volume 11 right at the end, I think, a bonus chapter, where Norn is praying for everyone to come back safely or whatever. And eventually she goes there, she goes to pray at the church, and she goes every day or whatever, and eventually she just goes there, and during her prayers she like breaks down crying, and she like reflects on how she knows that praying isn't doing anything. She's being useless like she always is, and it's incredibly sad and shows how she feels so powerless in this situation. And then Cliff comes in and tells her to keep trying and be strong, and be strong enough to help out next time. And like, this is all fantastic Norn stuff just in one chapter, which is like the first Norn point of view chapter, I guess. And I just hope they adapt it. It's like it's one of the major contributions to why Norn is such a great character, and I'm really interested to see that, and I hope they include it. Oh, I guess volume 11 is another potential stopping point for the season. if they don't end up doing the Begarrett Labyrinth stuff, I guess I could see them ending at Volume 11 when Rudy and Alina are saying goodbye to everyone. I could imagine that being another potential ending, but I hope they adapt the Volume 12 stuff. But yeah, Volume 12, the notes for that is that I have, just like I had complete confidence for Volume 8, 9, and 10, I have complete confidence that when they adapt Volume 12, they will do it properly. Because it's a very serious, like there is no potential humor or potential ridiculous situations or things that would be ridiculed in some circles, as in Volume 7. There is none of that in Volume 12. It's very serious, a lot of action, and Mushoku Tensei excels in these aspects, at least in Season 1 of the anime. So let's see. I guess my one contingent thing here is that as long as the production of this, like the production schedule isn't constrained, like I don't get to the end of the season and they're like, ooh, we're on a tight time crunch here, we need to speed things up, and the production suffers. I just hope that doesn't happen, because this stuff is important. A very big part of Rudius's life happens in Volume 12. But yeah, I'm excited to see Alina and Rudy traveling to the Labyrinth City. That is really great. Like the traveling stuff in Mushoku Tensei is so great. And those two together, like I said before, I love their dynamic. The ant joke, the Rudy is asleep and he wakes up and there's like a series, there's like giant ants invading a city, and you think it's going to be like this massive plot, and maybe Volume 12 will diverge and that will be the main like threat or something. But then he wakes up again and he's like, it's just a dream. That was great. One of the greatest jokes of all time, and I can't wait to see that adapted. Another thing is that it would be very easy for them to make the hints that Geese is an apostle of the man god more obvious. I just hope they don't do that, because to me, one of the greatest moments when I was reading was when we go to the beginning of the Millis arc with Claire and everything, and right at the beginning, they're entering the city on their cart or whatever, and Geese shows up and joins in their cart. And for me, I was like, this is so great. This is why I love Mushoku Tensei, because this character that is always so reliable, and I've known him for so long, and he was there when Rudy was a child and everything, and he's here, and it feels like an old friend has come back into the story, which then makes the reveal at the end of the Millis arc that he's an apostle of the man god strike really hard. And it's like, I was betrayed. He tricked me, the reader, into loving him, and now he's betrayed me. So I really value that initial love in Volume 20, so I hope they don't make it so obvious that people pick up that there's something off about him here, so that when he comes up in Volume 20 into their cart, then it's like, what's going on here, you know? I hope they don't betray that kind of idea. Then I just have a bunch of quotes here. I'm so excited to see "Save her, even if it kills you," the best quote in all of Mushoku Tensei, which is what Paul says to Rudy, basically. And this is basically the cementing of Paul. Like, when he says that line, it frames him as... It's like the perfect encapsulation of who Paul is, which is that someone who is willing to tell his son to die for the sake of his mother because he cares about his mother so much. And it would be what a man would do, you know? Paul is a bad person, but at the same time, he loves his family. It's just really interesting, and it cements Paul as like one of my 3 favorite characters in all of Mushoku Tensei, so I can't wait to see it. Save her, even if it kills you. What a line. And I guess when he dies, I hope there isn't censorship. Like, I want to see that light novel illustration, which is just Rudy seeing Paul's dead body, like, covered in blood, and just being absolutely broken by it, and not being able to pull himself out of this depressive hole like he did last time. He needs the help of Roxy to do it. Like, I just hope there's no censorship there, and you really feel the impact of his death. But yeah. Another quote here: "I had never thought of him as a father, but he thought of me as one of the most important people in his life." Quotes like this I'm just looking forward to. And then the final quote, maybe this is the best quote in all of Mushoku Tensei. It's probably not, but it's great. Which they can't adapt because it is a like narration kind of thing, but "She cried all the tears that the rest of us hadn't." That is Norn Greyrat, alright? The best character in all of Mushoku Tensei, with her heart on her sleeve, as she always has, crying because her dad is dead, crying all the tears that all the others didn't cry. Like when she sees Rudius's hand, like she's about to, that whole scene is like a masterpiece, where she's about to get angry at Rudius, but she looks at his hand that is no longer there, looks at him, and she realizes that Rudy tried his best and there was nothing that, like, on one hand it's like she doesn't blame Rudius anymore. She's not about to get angry. That's one aspect of her maturity and what's so interesting about her. But at the same time, she feels a sense of being worthless again, because it's like, even if I had trained and gotten stronger, and even if I had gone along, if Rudius couldn't save him, then I couldn't have either. And it kind of feeds into her feeling kind of worthless, and it eventually leads to her wanting to train with the sword and become way stronger. And man, Norn is so great, and that's one of the greatest scenes. I can't wait till we get there. But yeah, and then I imagine that's how Volume 12 will end. After that scene, I think does he go to Paul's grave, or is that the end of Volume 25? I don't remember. 26, I guess. I don't know, but that'll be season 2. But let's see, what have I got? Worries. My number one, you've heard this a million times as I was going through this video. Volume 7, I'm a bit worried. I hope they don't lean into the comedy. I hope they kind of keep away the artificial levity. I'm also a bit worried that they're going to exclude the Norn and the Sarah point of view chapters, or any other point of view chapters that are important. But I guess we'll see. But the stuff I'm looking forward to: Rudy and Soldat drinking, Rudy and Sarah's last conversation in Volume 7, everything to do with Norn Greyrat, the greatest character in Mushoku Tensei. And I'm interested to see if, I know there is music that they used in that trailer that they said were the OP and the ED, but I wonder if there'll be any visuals for those, or if it'll be like season 1 where they didn't actually have visuals. Either way, I'm really interested to see how they do it. Like a visual opening or ending, or I guess the ending, there was one for season 1, but a visual opening for Mushoku Tensei would be really interesting. I wonder what would be in it. It would be cool to see. I want to my last note, and my very minor thing, which maybe very few people notice this. I don't know how popular known this is in the canon, in the fandom, but at the end of every episode in season 1, they would have like a next time, and they'd have like the episode title or whatever. And it always looked weird to me. And then I read the light novel, and I went back to the anime, and I realized that those cards at the end, which show the title, were actually the I can't remember what it was called, but it was basically the dragon temples where like Orsted and Orsted would go to kind of get knowledge and stuff. That was basically what it was. It was like a destroyed, like it had cracks in it. It had all the different 6 faces, like the demons and the humans and the sea folk and all that. Like it had all of those there, and I was like, wow, that's what it is. I couldn't believe it. What a like subtle detail to include in the anime. So I guess I'm just interested to see what the end card will be for this season, if they keep the same thing, or if they have another like really cool like hint for the people watching. Like it's the small world building things like that the anime really emphasized in season 1 that I'm looking forward to see, and I hope they adapt in season 2 as well. But yeah, that's Mushoku Tensei season 2. I am incredibly excited, despite how negative I sounded about what I think that'll happen for volume 7. I am still on the edge of my seat to see what they'll do. So, yeah, thank you.